few years, but we finally found some collusion. Only it wasn't between Trump and the Russians. It was between social media and the FBI. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. If you'd like to join the program, give us a call, 414-799-1130 or 1-800-838-9476. You can email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on Twitter, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, and we are streaming live on YouTube. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast during a surprise appearance yesterday, and he made what may be one of the most consequential admissions about the 2020 presidential election that I've ever heard. We'd already known that Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, Apple Podcasts, pretty much every media entity, every social media entity was censoring the Hunter Biden story, the story that he was involved in dirty dealings in Ukraine and China, and that he essentially served as a bagman for his father Joe's international bribery ring while Joe was vice president. This story dropped just a couple of weeks before the 2020 election, and it was a big one, because it wasn't your typical late in the election October surprise type of story. This directly implicated the vice president of the United States in what President Trump was talking about with then new Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a year earlier in that infamous phone call that Trump was actually impeached over, that Biden was engaged in improper dealings that essentially amounted to bribery, a quid pro quo arrangement in which he was accepting money through Hunter Biden's appearance and Hunter Biden's salary on the board of Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian energy company, in exchange for official policy from the Obama administration, because remember, the Vice President Biden was in charge of Obama's Ukraine policy. In just 2.5 minutes, less than 2.5 minutes, on the Joe Rogan Experience yesterday, Zuckerberg gives a fuller picture of why exactly that story was suppressed. Zuckerberg said the FBI came to warn Facebook about Russian disinformation ahead of the 2020 election. Take a listen to this. It runs 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Mark Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan podcast in what I can only describe as a bombshell admission.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like, there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story, the New York Post.
Yeah, we had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
Basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But basically, a lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper-political issue, so depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much. But we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country. It's a very professional law enforcement. If they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern.
It was that specific. On October 19th, 2020, a group of 51 former law enforcement officials, federal investigation intelligence officials, made a public statement on the Hunter Biden emails. Quote, "We write to say that the arrival on the U.S. political scene of emails purportedly belonging to Vice President Biden's son Hunter, much of it related to his serving on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma, has all the classic earmarks of a Russian disinformation operation. We want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not. And we do not have evidence of Russian involvement, just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case. If we are right, this is Russia trying to influence how Americans vote in this election, and we believe strongly that Americans need to be aware of this." Among others, the letter was signed by James Clapper, former director of national intelligence, Mike Hayden, former director of the CIA, Leon Panetta, former director of the CIA and former Secretary of Defense, and John Brennan, former CIA director. All of these guys were about as vicious of Trump opponents as you could possibly have. And all of them, almost instantly after the New York Post reports on Hunter Biden, come out and say, no, this is Russian disinformation. What the U.S. government knew, what the Justice Department knew, was that it wasn't, because there was an active investigation into Hunter Biden. They knew about the existence of the laptop. Remember, it was first the emails appeared, and we had no idea where these emails came from. Then it was learned that there was actually a laptop that was dropped off at a Delaware repair shop. So you're telling me that the Russians faked all of these emails, faked a laptop, and placed it in a computer repair shop close to Hunter Biden's home. Okay, it defied belief, but because it had the credibility of so many FBI officials, so many CIA officials, so many intelligence professionals, social media was essentially intimidated. And remember, Zuckerberg and Twitter and the traditional media, they were just looking for an excuse not to publish this story. But once the FBI started going around to the places where people could share the information independent of a CNN or New York Times or any other traditional media outlet covering it, in other words, where they could actually use it to potentially influence votes by saying, hey, look at this. We have direct, concrete evidence of President Biden's or then Vice President Biden's son, Hunter, serving as a bagman in an international bribery ring. Neither Twitter and Facebook would run it or allow it to be shared. In fact, Twitter went far further than Facebook ever did by instantly suspending users who would share the link to the story or even images from the Hunter Biden emails. About a year ago, a story came out that Twitter blocked the laptop story after intelligence officials came to top Twitter security people and said there were rumors that this was a Russian hack. Yoel Roth, the head of Twitter's integrity team, the site integrity team, cited the information from U.S. intelligence officials to justify the company's decision to block access to a series of post articles published that month detailing emails found on Biden's laptop. He testified before the Federal Election Commission and said U.S. officials warned him individuals close to political campaigns would likely be targeted in hack and leak operations close to the election. Roth said he met frequently throughout 2020 with government officials to discuss election security. He said he learned in one of the meetings that, quote, there were rumors that a hack and leak operation would involve Hunter Biden, end quote. And in case you're wondering whether Yoel Roth needed any real push to censor the Hunter Biden story, he was the guy who not only developed Twitter's policy of labeling misleading posts. Remember when Trump was still on Twitter after the election, every single thing you would post about the election had a big warning label on it? Roth was the guy who came up with this. He came under fire in 2020 over tweets in which he called Donald Trump and his team, quote, actual Nazis, in all caps. He also called Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell a, quote, bag of farts. So this was the guy who was in charge of applying Twitter's misinformation program fairly. But what we now know is that this was, to borrow a popular phrase, a deep state operation to immediately discredit the Hunter Biden story, even by people who knew it to be true, who knew that the laptop was genuine, who knew that the emails were genuine. Remember, the country at the time had heard from Tony Bobulinski, who had said, yes, I was working with one of Hunter Biden's companies in similar dealings in China, and that the only reason we were getting any of these deals, the only reason that anything was coming to us was because of the connection with Joe Biden. This was clearly a pay-for-play operation that Hunter was the front man to. Hunter bragged about being able to get all of these connections, but said he had to give 10% to the big guy. Bobulinski said, yes, Hunter frequently called his father Joe the big guy, or the chairman, or my boss, or my chairman. In other words, Bobulinski was corroborating all of the information that was coming from the laptop. Yet you had intelligence officials, former and current, waging an essentially disinformation campaign of their own to try to convince the American public that this was Russian disinformation and to provide cover for the social media companies that already wanted to censor it, already wanted to prevent its sharing. And folks, it worked. A post-election poll from the Media Research Center conducted by McLaughlin and Associates showed 36% of people who voted for Joe Biden were not aware of the Hunter Biden-Joe Biden corruption story. 13% of those voters, or 4.6% of Biden's total vote, say had they had known these facts, they wouldn't have voted for Biden. 73% of people in this poll, it's about 1,000 people in swing states that would have actually decided the election. 73% said they had heard of the story, but 27% did not, including 36% of those Biden voters. Those Biden voters were then asked if you had been aware of this actual evidence in emails, texts, testimony, and banking transactions being investigated by the FBI, would you have, and the voters were given several options, still voted for Joe Biden? 87% said they would. Voted for a third-party candidate, 5.6%. Not voted for any political candidate or presidential candidate, 4.7%. Not voted at all, 1.7%. Or switched their vote to Donald Trump, 1.1%. If this were accurate, and if this were to be extrapolated to those 7 key swing states, Trump would have won the election with 289 electoral votes. Biden would not have won. The FBI was investigating Hunter Biden at the time. For the exact same thing, the FBI was going to Facebook and Twitter telling them it was Russian disinformation. What are we to believe about this other than the fact that the real collusion here was the intelligence community colluding with the Biden campaign in order to suppress this information to swing an election? If this were another year, say, 2016, we'd call this election interference. We'd say the election was rigged. But we can't say that, can we? And this was all part of a multi-year operation by the intelligence community to get Trump by any means necessary that culminated in the raid on Mar-a-Lago. We'll get to that story coming up in just a second. Don't you dare go anywhere. The Dan O'Donnell Show will be right back.
Dan O'Donnell will be right back.
You probably did a double take when you filled up the gas tank this summer. Maybe you drove less or canceled vacation plans. Wisconsin families are dealing with higher prices at the pump thanks to policies from D.C. liberals that cut American energy production. Senator Ron Johnson is fighting to restore American energy independence and help Wisconsin families and small businesses. Small businesses are really feeling the squeeze. Kevin is a project manager for an electrical contractor in Clinton.
We have 80 employees and 40 trucks, and we operate all over. We're paying almost double what we did last year for fuel, and policies from liberals in Washington are making it worse. Senator Ron Johnson is fighting for relief at the pump. He voted to finish the Keystone Pipeline and increase U.S. oil and gas production. That could make a real difference for small businesses like us.
Call Senator Ron Johnson, 414-276-7282. Urge him to pass S-3752, the American Energy Independence from Russia Act. Restore our energy independence. Paid for by One Nation. OneNationAmerica.org.
As a small business owner, the last thing you need are nonsense fees on internet and phone service. Spectrum Business doesn't have any of the nonsense fees other providers charge.
CenturyLink charges me a facility relocation cost recovery fee.
I have AT&T, and I'm paying an administrative expense fee.
Switch to Spectrum Business and get the best value for business internet and phone with no nonsense. Visit spectrum.com/business.
And now a small business setback is assessed by a beloved family pediatrician.
Oh, hey, Tiger. Big scary tree branch give your work truck a boo-boo? Yeah. Wow. See this thing on my phone here? It's the Progressive mobile app. Just push that little button there and report your claim. Attaboy.
When owning a small business gets painful, Progressive Commercial is here to make it all better. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
What's this? Candy drawer? Who wants a lollipop?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions. Photo claims not available in all states or situations.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The market took a big hit this year. Do you have a recovery plan in place? I'm Jeff Kowal of Kowal Investment Group, the retirement specialist. Let us help you get your retirement back on track. Call us at 262-522-4040 and listen Saturday at 10 a.m. to the Retirement Clinic.
Employees prefer not to sit through annual benefits meetings. They prefer efficiently applying on your in-source benefit company's human resource management app, where they see pay and payroll deductions real-time, no paper forms, no faxing. The benefit companies, ConnectedSimplified.com.
Classical conservatism, contemporary style. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. And we want to send you and a guest to Las Vegas, September 23rd and 24th for our fabulous iHeartRadio Music Festival. All you need to do to win a free trip is to text the word WIN to 200-200-WIN. Win. One lucky winner will win a round-trip airfare for two to Vegas, 2 nights hotel stay, ground transportation, and tickets to both nights of the iHeartRadio Music Festival, plus a $1,000 gift card. If you enter the contest, you will get a confirmation text as well as information. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. I still couldn't believe what I heard on the Joe Rogan show yesterday. In a surprise appearance, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg essentially admitted that the FBI came to Facebook and gave a generalized warning about Russian disinformation. And as a result of that, Facebook censored the Hunter Biden laptop story shortly before the 2020 presidential election. Twitter went even further. Also after a general FBI warning about Russian disinformation, and former top intelligence officials, including hardcore Democrat activists John Brennan and James Clapper, the former director of the CIA and the former director of national intelligence, as well as 49 other former top intelligence officials, signed an open letter saying this Russian laptop, or rather this Hunter laptop story, has all the hallmarks, the classic signs of Russian disinformation. Twitter went so far as to suspend the New York Post's account for 2 weeks before the presidential election, an unprecedented move, and it would actually automatically, algorithmically suspend anyone who dared to share the Hunter laptop story, or as I found out when I myself was suspended for a couple seconds, anyone who dared to post a picture that was obtained from the Hunter Biden emails. Well, what we learned was that this was just the latest battle in the FBI's long war on Trump. In fact, this was essentially an intelligence operation that started during Trump's candidacy. January 4th, 2017, then President-elect Donald Trump was openly blasting the FBI and CIA just weeks before his inauguration, when Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer offered a warning.
To take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
Little did America know at the time just how upset they were. That summer, the FBI knowingly presented evidence before a FISA court that it knew to be unverified and likely untrue so as to surveil a member of then-candidate Trump's campaign. A few months later, the high-ranking FBI agent who was running the investigation into whether the campaign was colluding with the Russian government texted his mistress, an FBI lawyer, to assure her that he would not let Trump be elected president. He wrote, "There's no way Trump gets elected, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40. That insurance policy was very clearly the Russia investigation. Now, at the time, Trump's political opponents were making cryptic references to what they were calling The Thing, a document so devastating that if released, it would end whatever slim chance Trump had of winning the upcoming election. Rather obviously, someone involved in the investigation had leaked the false evidence the FBI had presented to the FISA court, a now infamous document known as the Steele dossier. Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence agent, contracted with political research firm Fusion GPS to dig up dirt on Trump on behalf of Hillary Clinton's campaign. His anonymous sources allege that Russian agents conspired with Trump to interfere in the election to benefit Trump and hurt his Democrat opponent Hillary Clinton. The 35-page document was never verified, and it was immediately recognized as opposition research thinly disguised as actual intelligence. But after Trump won the election in a major upset, it became the focal point of the FBI's insurance policy. In December 2016, Senator John McCain, a major Trump enemy within the Republican Party, obtained a copy of the dossier and presented it to FBI Director James Comey in a face-to-face meeting. Within a month, he and other intelligence community leaders presented the dossier to President Obama and his closest aides, who opened an investigation into Trump's supposed connection with Russia. The following day, January 6th, exactly 2 weeks before Trump's inauguration, Comey met with President Trump in New York City and briefed him on the dossier, which he failed to mention was paid opposition research from the Clinton campaign and it wasn't actual verified intelligence. Comey later explained this lie by omission by saying that relaying this vital information wasn't necessary for his goal, which was to alert Trump that, quote, "we had this information." Trump later said that he interpreted this statement as a form of blackmail, and it certainly appeared to be. The existence of the briefings before Trump and Obama were leaked to the media, giving BuzzFeed News an excuse to publish the dossier in its entirety. That created, as it was intended, a media feeding frenzy in which the Trump transition was wholly overshadowed by breathless conspiracy theories about Russian collusion and a rigged election. Just 10 days before Inauguration Day, the Trump presidency was already in crisis, and the whispers of impeachment, removal from office, and even treason charges grew louder with each passing hour. This was the insurance policy that Strzok had tweeted about. The Trump administration would end before it could even begin. Comey, of course, stepped up the investigation into the possibility of Russia collusion, even though after months of fruitless searching, even Strzok, the man leading the investigation, concluded in a text to Page that there was almost certainly, quote, no big there. Yet the investigation continued. And even after Trump fired Comey, leading to the appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller to continue the Russia investigation, it became quickly apparent that Strzok was correct. Mueller's team did hand down indictments against Russian actors for their role in meddling in the 2016 election, but each time they did, they were careful to state, quote, there is no allegation in this indictment that any American had any knowledge of what the Russians were doing. Now, this should have ended any speculation that Trump or his campaign had any hand in this, but through selective leaks from the Mueller team, investigators were able to continue to cement in the minds of the public that proof of collusion was just an indictment away. There was never any proof, and every single investigator knew this, but they persisted in a weaponized investigation anyway. Only when Mueller's final report concluded definitively in March 2019 that there was never any collusion did the American people finally learn the truth. The only collusion was between the intelligence community, the Democratic Party, and the media to destroy a duly elected president. But their efforts didn't stop with Russia. Just 4 months after the collusion narrative fell apart, President Trump's phone call with new Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was leaked to the media, setting off a new feeding frenzy over claims that Trump was withholding aid to Ukraine unless Zelensky launched an investigation into the son of Trump's likely opponent in the 2020 presidential election, Joe Biden. As materials from Hunter Biden's laptop made abundantly clear a year later, there was, in fact, ample evidence that the younger Biden, who sat on the board of a Ukrainian energy company despite no relevant experience in the field, was involved, along with his father, in a massive international bribery scheme. Nonetheless, the intelligence community interpreted Trump's calls for an investigation into his corruption as a quid pro quo in exchange for military and financial aid. It most certainly was not, but that didn't stop Democrats from impeaching Trump in late 2019. He was acquitted in the Senate a few months later, but Democrats and their intelligence community allies got what the Russia investigation couldn't get them: a Trump impeachment just before he stood for re-election. Then in the waning days of the 2020 campaign, when the New York Post published information from Hunter's laptop, more than 50 former intelligence officials, many of whom responsible for keeping the false Russia narrative going, signed an open letter dismissing the story as Russian disinformation. They knew this to be false, since the Justice Department had opened investigations into Hunter Biden, and his former business partner, Tony Bobulinski, was telling everyone who would listen about the bribery scheme, but they still lent their credibility, such as it was, to destroying a story that would gravely harm the candidate they believed could finally end the Trump presidency. Sadly, they succeeded. Labeling the material as Russian disinformation gave news networks and social media all the cover they needed to ignore the story and censor anyone who dared to post about it. Trump lost in a close election, and upwards of 17% of voters in key swing states said later that month in polling that had they heard about the Biden corruption story, they either would not have voted for Biden or even changed their vote to Trump. And even now, nearly 2 years after Trump left the White House, the intelligence community is still openly operating against him, trying desperately to ensure that he can never regain the presidency. The investigation into classified documents, the raid of Mar-a-Lago, weren't just unprecedented. They were a new battle opened up in the years-long war against Donald Trump. Consider it a new insurance policy against his long-anticipated announcement of a 2024 run, a battle that'll pit him against not only the Democratic Party, but also the intelligence community and the hyper-politicized Justice Department, which has now spent more than 6 years proving that it really does have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. Dan O'Donnell here for my great friends at Built-Right Furniture, Leather, and Mattresses. Built-Right's Labor Day sale is on now. Shop where the O'Donnell family shops 4 generations, 94 years strong. Now, more than ever, is the time to support Built-Right, a locally and family-owned business since 1928. Holiday guarantee with an over 45,000 square foot showroom. You'll find thousands of items in stock or order select quick ship styles for guaranteed delivery by the holidays. Over 64 dining sets plus 35 Amish-made in stock. Over 50 styles of Powerlift recliners in stock. Over 30 styles of sleepers sofas in love seat full and queen sizes in stock, and much more. Shop Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. for personalized shopping. Call to book an appointment. Sunday closed to be with family. Make sure to tell them Dan O'Donnell sent you to Built-Right at 54th and Layton in Greenfield.
Are you sick of living with outdated, worn-out countertops but are unsure of who to trust with the job? This is Eric from Granite Direct saying we're here to help. From humble beginnings more than 15 years ago, Granite Direct has built a reputation as the go-to place for natural stone and quartz countertops. From the moment you walk in the door, you'll start to experience the Granite Direct difference. Our knowledgeable, no-pressure sales team will guide you through the countless options and answer all your questions along the way. And you'll leave confident that you've made the right choice. Then peering out into our shop, you'll not only notice the state-of-the-art machinery, but expert craftsmen inspecting and putting on the finishing touches, making sure every job is just right. Then the day arrives. You look out your window to see a Granite Direct truck in your driveway. That's when one of our experienced install crews, treating your house like their own, expertly install your new tops, turning your vision into reality. Look, we're not super fancy, but we love what we do, and we're really good at it. If you're ready to make a change, we're ready to help. Where technology meets craftsmanship, we're Granite Direct.
Insulin, penicillin, the heart transplant. All of these medical breakthroughs were thanks to research. Research made possible with the help of volunteers. That's where you come in. The All of Us research program is asking for people from across the U.S. to share their unique health information. Because the more data researchers have, the faster they can find the next health breakthrough. But there can be no breakthroughs without research, and there's no research without you. Learn more at joinallofus.org/WBA, sponsored by All of Us Wisconsin.
Welcome to This Week with Annex Wealth Management. Dan O'Donnell here alongside the president and CEO of Annex, Dave Spano. And this week, the eyes of the financial world, Dave, are going to be on Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Yeah, that's right. And so annually there's a symposium, Dan, that all of these economists get together. And it's not just the Federal Reserve, it's economists, it's hedge fund managers, but we're also going to see people from the Bank of England and the Bank of Japan and around the world. And why that's important is because of monetary theory around the world. In every one of these areas, they have their own concerns. For example, in England, right now, inflation is above 13%, and fuel continues to be a very big issue. We just heard this past week that the Russians are probably going to slow down or stop Nord Stream altogether, and that is, of course, their input to energy into England, and of course, issues on the other side of the world in China and Japan. So the United States continues to be concerned about inflation, and that is going to be the key concern coming out of Jackson Hole. What is the Federal Reserve going to do? Are they going to continue down this path of raising interest rates until they finally slow down inflation? That is the big question, Dan, and that's where we're going to have to watch. Look for any news reports coming out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, followed up by the Federal Reserve and what they say. Go through your portfolio, folks. Know what you own, why you own it, and how much you're paying for it, because right now, with all of the uncertainty around the world, it's never been more important.
No, it hasn't, and that's why you absolutely do need to get to AnnexWealth.com for a free portfolio review. It's called a Wealth Metric, and you can get it by going to AnnexWealth.com. For Dave Spano, the president and CEO of Annex, I'm Dan O'Donnell. Thanks so much for listening to This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
Hi, it's Jerry Bond. Looking for a safe and vibrant senior living community? Look no further than Clement Manor. The remodeled apartments give you the freedom to live life to the fullest while providing an unparalleled level of personal care. Residents can take advantage of the Independent Plus program for those who want a little extra help with meals, laundry, and housekeeping. There's a host of amenities, including restaurant-style dining, a bar, pool, and much more. Book a tour and see why Clement Manor got a 5 out of 5 rating from U.S. News and World Report. Details at ClementManor.com. Clement Manor, life enriched.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial. ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN. Conservative thought, not just talk. This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Ready, steady, go!
I honestly can't say I'm surprised that the intelligence community was behind social media's suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. Folks, they probably would have done it on their own, because the Hunter story was something that really would have changed the outcome of the election. Had people known about Biden's corruption, they wouldn't have seen him as the smooth, kind of stumbling grandpa, good old Uncle Joe from Scranton, who would have returned the country to normalcy from Donald Trump, and the circus would have been out of town finally. They would have changed their minds. Take a listen to this. This is Mark Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like, there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story, the New York Post.
Had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
Basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less.
Yeah, that was it. Now, of course, whenever I would post anything about it, nobody would see that story. Every other person who is sharing this story is reporting something similar, that if they would normally get 500 shares on a story, they would get maybe 25 shares on the story about Hunter Biden's laptop. Twitter, which very famously was just blocking users and suspending their accounts if they posted any information from the Hunter email story, also admitted a top-ranking Twitter security official who also hated Trump, it was revealed in 2020, was approached by the FBI, testified before the Federal Elections Commission that the FBI came forward and said, hey, watch out, this Hunter Biden laptop story is probably Russian disinformation. The FBI was investigating Hunter based on information from the laptop at the time. Now, I want to remind you of the existence of an article from Time magazine written by Molly Ball, February 4th, 2021. The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. That's right. It wasn't a conspiracy. It actually happened. The handshake between business and labor was just one component of a vast cross-partisan campaign to protect the election, an extraordinary shadow effort dedicated not to winning the vote, but to ensuring that it would be free and fair, credible and uncorrupted. For more than a year, a loosely organized coalition of operatives scrambled to shore up America's institutions as they came under simultaneous attack from a remorseless pandemic and an autocratically inclined president. Though much of this activity took place on the left, it was separate from the Biden campaign and crossed ideological lines, with crucial contributions by nonpartisan and conservative actors. That would be the Never Trump movement. The scenario the shadow campaigners were desperate to stop was not a Trump victory. Yeah, right. It was an election so calamitous that no result could be discerned at all, a failure of the central act of democratic self-governance that has been a hallmark of America since its founding. Their work touched every aspect of the election. They got states to change voting systems and laws and helped secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. They fended off voter suppression lawsuits, recruited armies of poll workers, and got millions of people to vote by mail for the first time. They successfully pressured social media companies to take a harder line against disinformation, and use data-driven strategies to fight viral smears. They executed national public awareness campaigns that helped Americans understand how the vote count would unfold over days or weeks, preventing Trump's conspiracy theories and false claims of victory from getting more traction. After Election Day, they monitored every pressure point to ensure that Trump could not overturn the result. The untold story of the election is the thousands of people of both parties who accomplished the triumph of American democracy at its very foundation, says Norm Eisen, a prominent lawyer and former Obama administration official who recruited Republicans and Democrats to the board of the Voter Protection Program. This is the inside story of the conspiracy to save the 2020 election based on access to the group's inner workings, never-before-seen documents, and interviews with dozens of those involved from across the political spectrum. It is the story of an unprecedented, creative, and determined campaign whose success also reveals how close the nation came to disaster. Every attempt to interfere with the proper outcome of the election was defeated, says Ian Bassing, co-founder of Protect Democracy, a nonpartisan rule of law advocacy group. But it's massively important for the country to understand that it didn't happen accidentally. The system didn't work magically. Democracy is not self-executing. That's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told, even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream. A well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. They were not rigging the election. They were fortifying it, and they believe the public needs to understand the system's fragility in order to ensure that democracy in America endures. That from Molly Ball, published February 4th, 2021 in Time magazine, The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election. From the, quote, autocratically inclined President Donald Trump. In other words, the FBI was working in concert with this effort to prevent the so-called Russian disinformation, which it actually knew at the time to be real information, from influencing the election. In other words, all of these entities, all of these groups, which included the intelligence community, were working to defeat Donald Trump, who was seen as the single biggest threat to democracy that there was. If you ask anybody involved in the shadow campaign, what's the biggest threat to democracy? They would say Donald Trump and his, quote, semi-fascism, as President Biden called it. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk.
Offering a memory disorder program that's first of its kind in Wisconsin isn't just about innovation. It's about providing thorough diagnoses to improve treatments and help people live better. And our advanced brain imaging doesn't just further our knowledge. It's to help MS sufferers and their families find a treatment plan that's right for them. Because at the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Neuroscience Institute, we use our cutting-edge research to advance science and help resolve the toughest neurovascular disorders, all to help people. We're a nationally recognized leader in the diagnosis and treatment of complex disorders of the brain. And our comprehensive approach means that a range of specialists will provide you with a personalized plan, from early diagnosis through treatment and recovery. That's doing everything humanly possible in brain and neurovascular care, all so you can keep being you. To see a specialist with the expertise to help you, go to froedtert.com/neuro.
Hi, I'm Pete, owner of Village Bowl. There's bowling, and then there's Country Club Bowling. We are southeastern Wisconsin's premier bowling center, keeping an incredibly clean and modern design. Winning the league championship is only part of the reason why you join a bowling league. What bowling leagues are really about is having your third place away from home and work, surrounded by the camaraderie of friendship and fantastic food, featuring hand-tossed pizza to fish fries. Now's the time to secure your spot for fall leagues while space is still available. See why people are flocking away from dirty and outdated centers and moving on to the next level of bowling. We have juniors, couples, men's, women's, and mixed team handicap leagues. Village Bowl has a league you want in a world-class facility in Menominee Falls. Sign up at villagebowl.com. That's villagebowl.com. Now is the time to book your wedding, holiday, birthday, shower, or corporate party in one of our 3 rooms for seating up to 300. Check us out at villagebowl.com. That's villagebowl.com.
Hi, Jerry Bott here. If you or a loved one are looking for a safe and vibrant senior living community, look no further than Clement Manor in Greenfield. Celebrating 40 years of senior care, Clement Manor is designed for active lifestyles. Newly remodeled apartments give residents freedom to live life to the fullest, plus an unparalleled level of personal care with safety features such as check-in buttons, pull cords, spacious walk-in showers, and updated kitchens. And residents can take advantage of the Independent Plus program for those who'd like a little extra help with meals, laundry, housekeeping, and more. The amenities are plentiful. Clement Manor residents enjoy restaurant-style dining as well as a full bar, indoor pool, hair salon, and lots of outdoor space to relax and socialize. Clement Manor also understands the importance of lifelong learning. In the Center for Enrichment, residents enjoy a variety of classes and activities designed to strengthen the mind and spirit. Come for a tour and see why Clement Manor received a 5 out of 5 rating for senior care from U.S. News and World Report. Go to clementmanor.com for more details. Clement Manor, life enriched.
I'm Josh Parks, owner of Infinity Exteriors. Cleaning up the yard after a storm is enough of a hassle. Dealing with hail and wind damage compounded by fly-by-night storm-chasing roofers and exterior modelers is just too much. If you can hear this message and fear storm damage, simply pick up the phone and call Infinity Exteriors to be on your way to stress-free, meticulous, warranty-valid home repairs covered by your insurance right now. Infinity Exteriors, warranted, guaranteed quality. 262-650-5040 at infinityroofing.com.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-738-9900. That's 800-738-9900.
Welcome to training camp today. Packers dropped their preseason finale to the Chiefs in Kansas City 17-10. It was another summer of love at quarterback with Aaron Rodgers sitting out all 3 games. Jordan Love went 16 of 26 for 148 yards. Did throw that late first half interception for the preseason. The third-year pro went 41 of 74, 437 yards, 3 scores, 4 picks, passer rating of 63.9.
I think it was good. I think I definitely took a lot of good strides this preseason, from when we started in OTAs to now. Just from the first 2 years I've been here, I definitely, there's a lot of growth in just my play and decision making and how comfortable I feel. So I felt good about it.
Tyler Goodson's 24-yard touchdown run. Jack Heflin's 2 big plays on defense. Probably got enough done for them to stick, but some tough decisions will have to be made by next Tuesday. For training camp today, I'm Mark Daniels.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Watch you.
Welcome back, Dan O'Donnell Show. We're going to have some fun in the 10 o'clock hour. Of course, it is Friday. We look back at the strangest stories of the week. How bizarre is coming up. Plus, I think I've got something that we can add to the daily White House press briefings. Although there haven't been daily White House press briefings for some time. They just returned this week. I'm not sure. Well, yeah, Biden was on vacation for 3 weeks. Does that mean does that mean the people who are really running the country were also on vacation? Just because Biden was in South Carolina and then Delaware for the 450th time in his year and a half as president? Well, Karine Jean-Pierre returned this week, and I've got an addition that makes her truly painful press conferences way better to watch. We'll get into that. Plus, a protest at Marquette University forces the cancellation of the convocation ceremony. And what the protesters were asking for, well, it's kind of hilarious on its face. I'll get to that story coming up as well. Plus, the sudden election year conversion of Governor Tony Evers on tax cuts. Before we get to any of that, though, we name the unhinged liberal of the day.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
All white people are racist.
Trump is dangerous because he's evil. America is over.
You know how I can always tell that something is politically very damaging to a Democrat? It becomes impossible immediately after the Democrat says that thing to find the video online. Honest to goodness, I have been struggling to find video of President Biden during a speech in Rockville, Maryland. This is his first political rally speech ahead of the midterms. He called Republicans and the MAGA movement, quote, semi-fascism. He said he respects Republicans like Larry Hogan, the never-Trump governor of Maryland, who's far more like a Democrat, very moderate Republican. He said Republicans, like the MAGA Republicans who he doesn't respect, are a threat to democracy. It's not just Trump, he continued. It's the entire philosophy that underpins the I'm going to say something. It's like semi-fascism. Semi-fascism. Republican National Committee spokesperson Nathan Brand said in a statement to news outlets, called the comments despicable. Biden said the MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights and economic security. They're a threat to our very democracy. They refuse to accept the will of the people. They embrace political violence. They don't believe in democracy. This is why in this moment, those of you who love this country, Democrats, independents, mainstream Republicans, we must be stronger. Joe Biden, you're unhinged liberal of the day. Semi-fascism. You know what this reminds me of? Hillary Clinton and the infamous basket of deplorables. It's the exact same thing. By the way, what would, I don't know, using the FBI to go after a political opponent be like? Just ask him. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. We'll be right back.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Is another rate hike on the horizon? Good morning, I'm Terry Bell on News Talk 1130 WISN. All eyes on Wall Street are on Jackson Hole, Wyoming, as Jerome Powell addresses the Federal Reserve's annual economic symposium today. The nation's central bank has been using interest rate hikes to fight inflation. Powell's expected to defend the strategy, but is unlikely to preview what the Fed might do at its next meeting in September. The Justice Department is expected to release a redacted version of the affidavit linked to the FBI raid on former President Donald Trump's Florida home.
Judge Bruce Reinhart found that the government, quote, met its burden of showing its proposed redactions are narrowly tailored to serve the government's legitimate interest in the integrity of the ongoing investigation and are the least onerous alternative to sealing the entire affidavit. So we could learn the probable cause behind the unprecedented raid on former President Trump's residence. According to CNN, during the negotiation process over documents, the National Archives had requested that correspondence between former President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un be returned. And get this, they wanted it overnighted via FedEx.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff reporting. Storms that moved through southeast Wisconsin overnight dumped more rain in some places than others. Hubertus got almost 4 inches, while Racine and Kenosha got less than an inch.
Which is like the story of the summer, right? You need a lot of rain. You could have used all of this, but it went just to your north.
Fox 6 weather expert Tom Walks reporting. Milwaukee's Mexican Fiesta opens today for the first time after taking 2 years off due to the coronavirus. Checking the Drake and Associates sports scoreboard, the Brewers welcome the Cubs to town tonight. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Terry Bell.
The news is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
It's Dan O'Donnell for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. It's not very often in today's economy that you'll find a deal this good on such a premium brand. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you can have beautiful Pella windows installed in your home and pay just 2.99% financing that's locked in for 10 years. Or if you'd rather, choose free blinds or shades between the glass on lifestyle premium wood patio doors or Impervia fiberglass patio doors. You have to take advantage of deals like this one while they last, especially in today's climate. Not only are these types of offers getting harder and harder to come by with such a low interest rate locked in for 10 years, but there's just no telling how long it may be until you see an offer like this come around again. So don't miss an incredible opportunity to have beautiful Pella windows installed while paying only 2.99% interest across 10 years. Visit PellaWI.com.
When Las Vegas hosts a music festival with the hottest acts on the planet, you have to be there. Play the nationwide text-to-win iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway Contest now through September 9th, and you could find yourself in the middle of the action. Contest times are weekdays at 9, 1, and 5, with hourly winners getting a trip for 2 to Vegas plus $1,000 cash.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival Flyaway Contest is presented by American Companies of West Bend. Let American Companies handle all aspects of your commercial building project. TeamACS.net.
Here's the Bryant Heating and Cooling forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Decreasing clouds today with plenty of sunshine for your afternoon. High temps struggling to get even to the mid to lower 70s. But we do get warmer for your Saturday. Partly sunny skies Saturday, highs in the upper 70s, and rain returns finally Sunday afternoon. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Eric Mangus.
This report is sponsored by the Mark Moss Show podcast.
The Inflation Reduction Act was signed into law. The problem, though, it won't actually do anything to reduce inflation. I'm Mark Moss, helping you navigate the decentralized revolution. Listen to the Mark Moss Show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The advantage of owning your own home while enjoying the conveniences of condo life in a quality hand-built home that you can be proud of? Check out Pebblebrook Hollow in the village of Waukesha off of Oakdale Road. You like what you find.
Bellman Homes. Rep the crew with the free Brewers Bucket Hat on Friday, August 26th. Available to all fans 21 and up with Miller Lite Beer Pen tickets for the Crew's weekend opener versus the Cubs. Get your seats for the series now at brewers.com/tickets.
Honey, I can't find my fishing gear. Do you know where it is?
I think I saw it the other day. Look in the big closet, in the hallway, in the same corner as the Halloween ornaments.
Oh, right. Next to the binders full of baseball cards on the shelf with all those miscellaneous wires and plugs.
That's right. And underneath the plastic bins of books and journals and photo albums.
I don't see it. Are you sure?
Check in the box labeled baby toys.
Aha! Here it is. Thanks, sweetie.
We should call Tailored Living, shouldn't we?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Hi, I'm Brian Webb. Almost 10 years ago, I had Tailored Living do my epoxy garage floor, garage cabinets, and my closets in my home. I was so impressed with the results, we bought the company and added it to our existing growing businesses. Let us help you and give us a call for a free consultation at 262-875-3010. That's 262-875-3010. Or visit us at tailoredliving.com. That's tailoredliving.com.
Treat the cause of your pain, not just your symptoms, with state-of-the-art equipment and the latest rehabilitative technology. At Lake Country Health Center, Dr. Murray and Dr. Mai will find a way to get you back to health. Call 262-646-5800 or lakecountryhealthcenter.com.
For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
SemperFiRoofing.com.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-738-9900. That's 800-738-9900.
The Stuff They Don't Want You to Know podcast delves into popular culture's most persistent mysteries. Now, there's something else that the guys at Stuff They Don't Want You to Know want you to know. They've got a new book coming out. Packed with illustrations, the Stuff They Don't Want You to Know book is written in the same smart, conversational style you love hearing on the podcast. Available October 11th. Pre-order now at StuffYouShouldReadBooks.com or wherever you buy your books.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. You're getting a twofer today. I will be hosting the Friday afternoon show on News Talk 1130 WISN starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon, going to about 6 o'clock-ish. Apparently, we have free reign to go as long as we want. Well, on one of the last weekends of summer on what figures to be a gorgeous Friday night, I'll be going to 5:59 and 59 seconds exactly. Time me. We're hitting that top of the hour news right, and all you're going to see, it's going to be like a cartoon. It's going to be just a big cloud of dust. Producer Paul is going to be like, "Where'd Dan go?" And I'll already be out with a Mai Tai somewhere. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. Coming up, I guarantee what we're going to be talking about quite a bit. 1 hour from now is the deadline for the magistrate judge in Florida to release the affidavit that supported the search warrant for the raid at Mar-a-Lago. I know we're not supposed to call it a raid, but it was a raid at Mar-a-Lago. And that's going to be released by 11 o'clock Central. The deadline is noon Eastern, and we will, of course, be covering that in its entirety. Now, this comes as Facebook's founder, Mark Zuckerberg, told Joe Rogan on Rogan's podcast yesterday that the FBI approached Facebook and said, "Hey, we don't want you guys to panic or anything, but there's a whole lot of Russian disinformation floating around." And Zuckerberg, of course, can't recall if that included specifically warning them about the Hunter Biden emails, the laptop that was discovered just weeks before the election. Remember, the New York Post put out that big story. Twitter was just blocking people automatically if they posted any information from it. They suspended the New York Post's Twitter account for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks before the presidential election. I believe they finally lifted that ban right before the election. But the damage was done. The story was suppressed. People weren't allowed to learn about the obvious corruption involving the man they were about to elect president of the United States. The FBI also, we now learned this week from whistleblower complaints to the office of Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, the FBI was telling agents, don't look in any further to this laptop, even though the Justice Department and the IRS had already opened investigations into the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. The FBI's local office in Delaware, higher-ups were telling agents, don't you do any independent investigation. This is going to FBI Central Office in Washington, D.C. And of course, what the FBI Central Office was doing was suppressing the story so that people wouldn't learn about it right before the election and Donald Trump might win. All right, if you would like to join the program at any time, 414-799-1130 is our AccuNet Mortgage talk and text line. You can also reach us toll-free, 1-800-838-9476. Email dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on Twitter, facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Press briefing yesterday. Oh, you know what I totally forgot? Producer Dave, we've got the Karine Jean-Pierre theme song. All right, no matter. We got to move on. You want to get the theme song ready? Can we do Karine Jean-Pierre without the theme song? I'm sort of thinking we need a new theme song. I mean, we struck gold with the last press secretary, Jen Psaki. Remember, I Ain't No Circle Back Girl to the tune of Ain't No Hollaback Girl by Gwen Stefani. So we've got Karine Jean-Pierre, when she was first named White House press secretary, when Psaki left to join MSNBC, and her show's going to debut when, Dave? Early 2023? 2023? Okay, that's what we thought. We said, okay, the biggest thing about Karine Jean-Pierre is that she has, in her time as a media pundit, declared everything and anything racist. So here is our current theme song for Karine Jean-Pierre.
Everyone's a little bit racist sometimes. I just think that America has a really a big problem with race, and it's very real. Look around and you will find no one's really colorblind. Maybe it's a fact we all should face. Everyone makes judgments based on race.
All right, so this is from the Tony Award-winning musical Avenue Q. It's called Everyone's a Little Bit Racist. It's actually a hilarious song. Hilarious show, by the way. It's done entirely by puppets. It's sort of like a crass Sesame Street, it's a hilarious concept for a musical. Anyway, we use this for the theme song. But since Karine Jean-Pierre has become press secretary, she has proven herself to be incredibly incompetent. This is why, for a long period over the summer, Admiral John Kirby, the State Department spokesman, was actually handling the White House press briefings because Jean-Pierre was so bad. She gets a briefing book, which is just what it sounds like. It's a book of notes on expected questions, talking points, that sort of thing. And during every press briefing, you can see her going like this. Frantically flipping through the briefing book to find the answer. She can't speak extemporaneously, and we've determined that she's pretty bad at her job. So what I need to do is to frantically look through my book of songs, or at least my iHeartRadio playlist, to find a song about being bad at your job, incompetence. So if you've got an idea for one, I still like this song. I just enjoy this song. I almost want to use it for something else. I almost use this, by the way, as the theme song for Guess What's Racist. But still, I'd kind of like to freshen up the Karine Jean-Pierre theme song. But I did notice toward that end, toward that point, that everything Karine Jean-Pierre says is so frankly ridiculous. And she's frankly kind of painful to listen to because of her inability to just speak off the top of her head. And she has such poor command of the facts that I thought we really needed something to lighten up these press conferences, to make her sound better. So, for example, yesterday she said this, that President Biden's record on the economy is unmatched.
So, the president's record on fiscal responsibility is second to none.
Second to none. Second to none. Now, that's so ridiculous that I thought it might sound better like this.
So, the president's record on fiscal responsibility is second to none.
Huh? You add a laugh track, and it just sounds better. We could even add the little Seinfeld. All right, how about this? Karine Jean-Pierre is saying that the student loan forgiveness, which is really a student loan wealth transfer, will be paid for by all of the great work that Biden has done on the economy.
But we do believe it will be fully paid for because of the work that this president has done with the economy.
I'm telling you, you add a laugh track, everything she says is much better. Now, the official White House Twitter account, @WhiteHouse, went viral last night because it started clapping back, as the kids say, to pretty much anyone who would criticize the Biden administration for its wealth transfer on forgiveness of student loans. It took publicly available data as to who had PPP loans forgiven. PPP loans were, of course, given out to businesses, individuals, LLCs, all of these that were shut down during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to make payroll, in other words, businesses were given these loans so that they could stay afloat, so that people wouldn't lose their jobs. I mean, if we had, look, folks, the American economy essentially ground to a complete halt in March of 2020. Could you imagine all of those people being completely unable to subsist? So we developed the PPP loan program. Those loans were designed to be forgiven. So the White House, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene had a PPP loan forgiven for her construction business. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, is tweeting out about the fundamental unfairness of the White House's student loan wealth transfer plan. The White House official Twitter account claps back and says, "Is this you? You had $20,000 or whatever it was of PPP loans forgiven." This is from the Small Business Administration's website, which outlines the terms for PPP loan forgiveness. First draw PPP loans made to eligible borrowers qualify for full loan forgiveness if during the 8 to 24 week period following loan disbursement, employee and compensation levels are maintained, meaning that they don't fire anyone, they don't cut salaries. The loan proceeds are spent on payroll costs and other eligible expenses, and at least 60% of the proceeds are spent on payroll costs. Second draw PPP loan forgiveness terms were also outlined. It's right there on the SBA's site. Anyone who's comparing student loans to PPP loans is being willfully dishonest, including, it seems, the White House. But this has been the major Democrat talking point. This has been the liberal narrative that they've been going with for 2 days now. Are these people just too stupid to realize this, or too intellectually dishonest to say there's just no comparison between a PPP loan, which was designed to be forgiven, and a student loan, which was taken out not under duress? All right. So the big difference is that government forced the shutdown of businesses. If you ran a bar, first the government said, okay, well, you can't have more than 50 people in your establishment. Then on St. Patrick's Day, of course, we close it down to 10 people or fewer, which essentially shuts down bars. So a bar, let's call it O'Dan's Pub, takes out a PPP loan because I don't want to have to fire my star bartender, producer Dave. Now, years later, I get that loan forgiven because I'm able to make payroll. Dave comes back to work. We reopen the bar. We survive COVID, and we're doing okay. So now the same government, the federal government that forced me to shut down in the first place, is holding it over my head that I had to take this loan, which is now forgiven. So I better not dare say anything about the federal government's student loan wealth transfer plan, because you took PPP loans, which were designed to be forgiven. Student loans are a contract between a lender and a borrower, not made under duress, in exchange for a product. The purpose of the loan is to afford something that will allow you to pay back the loan. PPP was designed during an unprecedented emergency, and it was designed not to be paid back necessarily, but to get businesses through easily the most difficult challenge any of them would ever face for an undetermined period, just being forced to shut down. We have never done that in the history of the United States, and as a result, we did something which was also rather unprecedented. The federal government spent trillions of dollars to try to keep people getting paid, to try to keep businesses from going under. And now, of course, as only liberal Democrats can, that's being thrown back in their faces to appease idiots who just don't know the difference between a loan that was designed to be forgiven and a student loan whose cost is now being picked up by the American taxpayer. Time for How Bizarre next. Stay tuned.
Talk Radio. Redefined. Dan O'Donnell will be right back.
This is Tony Drake with Drake & Associates. According to the U.S. debt clock, in the time you hear this commercial, our nation's debt will go up by $1.5 million. Our debt is over $30 trillion, and our government keeps spending. The question is, how do we pay it off? The answer? Increasing taxes. Now think about how your retirement accounts might be affected. To learn about tax reduction strategies and how to combat inflation, join us for the complimentary Smart Tax Retirement Summit on September 28th. You'll hear from renowned author Marty Ruby on his new holistic retirement for baby boomers. You'll learn the emerging risks and how to overcome them with long game thinking. Call 262-444-0040 or go to wealthwisconsin.com to register. That's 262-444-0040 or wealthwisconsin.com to register for the complimentary Smart Tax Retirement Summit.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply any level of skill or training. Insurance products are offered through a separate company. Loft Financial Advisory Group, LLC.
If you're looking for the finest of furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com.
Hey folks, Bob Tarantino from Redefined Realty, home of Wisconsin's favorite 3.99% commission plan. Recently, I spoke to a home seller that said 6% was a non-starter for them, yet they wanted a full-service brokerage. Luckily, I had just the solution. At Redefined Realty, our agents work hard, work smart, are great negotiators, and charge just 3.99%. That's a 33% discount off a 6% commission. My advice, forget the 6%ers and find a great 3.99% agent at redefinedrealty.com.
At Batteries Plus, we do more than fix phones and tablets. We help our neighbors power their lives. Visit one of Batteries Plus' 11 area locations to save $10 on Duracell Ultra car batteries. Now open in Burlington and Hales Corners. For offer details and limitations, visit batteriesplus.com.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell. Divorce touches all areas of your life. Family, friends, career, retirement. Few things in life affect so much. At Cordell & Cordell, we have a lot of experience protecting these interests for clients across America. In the process, we've come to know our clients pretty well. If you're a guy facing divorce, your chief concern, if you have kids, is to preserve your role in their lives. As to assets, you probably prefer tax-deferred savings over cash, and you likely would rather give up an asset than to pay maintenance. Also, lest you think we didn't notice, you want to pay as little to divorce lawyers as possible. Look, Cordell & Cordell can be successful only if our clients walk away feeling good about us. That means they feel not only that the result was the best possible in the circumstances, but also that their attorney fees were both reasonable and affordable. If this seems right to you, then let us be the partner that you count on.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Milwaukee attorneys. 111 East Kilbourne Avenue, Suite 1650, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202.
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
It is that time of the week. Friday morning, I figure it's a pretty good time to leave the cares and worries, the stress of the world of politics and current events behind, and to take a couple minutes and just focus on the silly, the strange, the odd, the stories that make us scratch our heads and say,
how bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
A teenage car thief wanted in connection with a stolen car was caught hiding from police inside a giant stuffed teddy bear. Joshua Dobson was arrested last month near Manchester on charges of motor vehicle theft, driving while disqualified, and leaving a gas station without paying. They searched for him at a home in Rochdale where they found him hiding in a very peculiar place. Police said, "We went to arrest him. Our officers noticed a large bear breathing in the address before finding Dobson inside." He was officially sentenced last week on the charges and will spend 9 months in prison. I think they really want to punish him. You sentence him to 9 months inside that bear.
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
All right. You're going to think I'm 13 years old when I tell you this story. And it's true. I probably have that maturity. A new study has found, and I quote, "Every day Uranus opens and closes to let out hot wind." The planet, of course. Scientists using data from more than 30 years ago are learning more about Uranus's magnetic field. Scientists at the Georgia Institute of Technology are reporting that the planet's magnetosphere turns on and off like a light switch every single day. All right, the planet is in what could be defined as an on state, allowing solar wind to flow into it. Then it tightens up and deflects solar wind in its off position. The scientists claim that the process occurs on a daily basis. In contrast, the Earth's magnetosphere typically only changes from open to closed in response to changes in the solar wind.
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
School district in Missouri is reinstating spanking as a form of punishment. The school board approved the policy and notified parents this week that Missouri's Cassville School District is bringing back corporal punishment. The disciplinary measure was abandoned in 2001, according to the Springfield News Leader. The change to reinstate spanking came after a survey sent to parents last year revealed they wanted additional discipline, and it was one of their major concerns, says the superintendent. Administrators will implement corporal punishment only as a last resort if other disciplinary measures do not work. The punishment will only be used in reasonable form and upon the recommendation of the principal. Parents who want their children smacked on the rear can sign an opt-in form provided by the school office. It's still unclear how many parents will allow their children to be hit. The superintendent said forms were sent out Wednesday during open house and that he should have a number later in the week. I kind of want to send my kids to this. I'm at the point as a parent where I'm ready for them to go back to school. And I wouldn't be totally opposed to just a light little spanking on the rear, okay? You can hit them with a ping pong paddle no more than 2 or 3 times. Just make sure they get it. We don't spank in our house. We never spanked. In fact, we tried it once when our oldest son was 2, and he got so enraged that we're like, all right, this isn't working. It sort of backfired. He was worse behaved after he got spanked. We turned him into the Incredible Hulk, but best of luck to this school district.
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
Cornell University perpetuates colonialism, slavery, racism, classism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, and ableism, says Cornell University. This, according to a statement posted on its School of Integrative Plant Sciences website. The statement appears to have been posted in March 2021, but remains up to this day and recently drew some criticism, chiefly from Randy Wayne, an associate professor in that school. The statement is attributed to the Diversity and Inclusion Council, which formed last October. The council stated it recognizes that our institution was founded on and perpetuates various injustices. Well, this professor caught wind of this and said, hey, wait a second. Cornell thinks Cornell is not just racist, but colonialists, slaveholding, classist, sexist, transphobic, homophobic, and ableist. How ridiculous is this? Sadly, though, these sorts of statements are kind of par for the course in higher education.
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
Speaking of sexism and misogyny, a film star is claiming that they were treated, well, like a piece of meat. They didn't enjoy being objectified over a body part. The weird part is that it's a dude. Gilmore Girls star Scott Patterson is this week recalling being treated like an object on the set of the show and said it's just as harmful for men to be objectified by women as it is the reverse. He made the statements on a podcast this week and said that objectifying someone's body part wasn't okay. because in the script, other characters said he had a nice butt. In the show, Lauren Graham's character and her co-worker character, played by Melissa McCarthy, talk about his butt after McCarthy's character accidentally touched his rear end. I realized it wasn't okay, and it didn't make me feel comfortable at all, Patterson shared. It made me feel really embarrassed, actually. It's infuriating to be treated that way. It's infuriating because you're being treated like an object. It's disturbing and it's disgusting, and I had to endure that through the entire scene in many takes. It was all about the butt, the butt, the butt. And then when we weren't filming, we were sitting down, people were still talking about the butt, the butt, the butt. It was the most disturbing time I have ever spent on that set, and I couldn't wait for that day to be over. Man, I really hope Scott Patterson doesn't go to the spanking school.
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
They spanked my butt, my butt, my butt. A nightclub in Sydney has banned staring unless the person doing the staring gets prior consent from the person they're staring at to continue staring. A failure to do so could result in a call to the police. Club 77 in Darlinghurst in Sydney's Inner East gave staring as an example of an action that would be in contravention of its new safety and harassment policy. In an Instagram post from earlier this month, the club said safety officers in pink vests would enforce the staring rules. Club 77 says it wants to remain a safe space, and so it updated its rules because it had recently attracted some people who do not share our values and ethics when it comes to club culture. Man, hopefully that dude from Gilmore Girls never goes into this club, huh?
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
They say romance is dead, but a couple's first date proved that's not the case. That date turned into a church burglary, then a trip to jail. According to police in Hendersonville, Tennessee, the couple confessed to stealing a piano and breaking into the church because they wanted to play the piano and they knew churches have pianos. According to Hendersonville police, the two people now identified as 19-year-old Danielle Salvato and 20-year-old Sebastian Spencer were on a first date. The young male and female ended up meeting on a social app and they were going on a date that night. In surveillance video, you can see the surprised smile on Spencer's face as the couple finds an unlocked door and enters. According to police, they enter the sanctuary. The couple claimed that they played a piano for about 30 minutes. Both subjects, police say, admitted to detectives they were looking for a piano to play because they both play the piano. They knew churches had pianos, so they were looking for an unlocked church to play the piano. As the couple exited the sanctuary, they said, police say they stole 4 Bibles and 2 drumsticks. In the surveillance footage, you can see Salvato pick up a church collection plate. Police say she collected it as a souvenir. On the way out of the church, you can hear the couple talking. Salvato says, "I found a piano. I'm so shocked we found one at the first church." Spencer, "I know, right?" Salvato, "And there were so many more churches I was ready to go to." Spencer, "Oh my God." I wish this couple all the love and happiness they deserve when they're allowed to see each other in about 4 to 6 months. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the weekly look back at the strangest stories of the past 7 days in a little segment here on the Dan O'Donnell Show that we call
How bizarre! How bizarre! How bizarre!
Before they go back to school, are your kids or grandkids immunized? I'm not talking just about college. I mean high school, even elementary school kids. On this afternoon's latest Word on Medicine, the Medical College of Wisconsin's Dr. Kristen Bensick will explain what immunizations are recommended for different age kids. That's today at 2 on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for the Lynch family of dealerships. Lynch is looking to buy your used car now. Lynch will buy you out of your lease and will pay up to $2,500 over Kelley Blue Book value. Before you make your next car payment, before you make your next lease payment, stop by any of the Lynch family of dealerships in Kenosha, Burlington, Mukwonago, and West Bend, or go to shoplynch.com and click on the Sell Trade tab for an instant cash offer on your vehicle. All makes, all models, and remember, if you're over on your mileage, if you're afraid of excessive wear and tear, they'll purchase your leased vehicles and pay up to $2,500 more than Kelley Blue Book value. Even if you're not in the market to buy a car, Lynch is in the market to buy your car. Visit shoplynch.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Joel Tertine is the Senior IT Administrator at Dental Associates, a James Imaging Systems customer, and all of their printers are covered by the James Managed Print Services program.
We are a very lean department. We are 7 people here in Milwaukee who maintain over 1,000 computers. I don't need printers to be the emergency of the day.
Joel, the Managed Print Services program from James Imaging Systems has some key advantages.
It just gives IT a break from fixing printers, and it also gives the clinic staff someone on site to come and repair the printers, and then most importantly, it saves us money on the bottom line.
Easing the workload so your team can focus on more mission-critical issues and save money.
Yes, the bottom line is we save money.
Managed Print Services and Toshiba. Toshiba copier printers from James Imaging Systems, your local document imaging partner. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com.
Now at Nice Hardware in Menominee Falls, save on Milwaukee tools during Nice August sale event. Reps on site Friday, August 26th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Buy a 7¼ fuel circular saw or sawzall for $249.99 and get a bonus 6-amp battery, a $179.99 value. Save $100 on select fuel drills or impact wrench kits with trade-in or accessory purchase. Don't miss out on deals like this and more during Nice August sale event featuring Milwaukee tools. Nice, Highways 41, 45, and Q in Menominee Falls. Visit NEUShardware.com for details.
Upgrade your vehicle during the Rust Arrow Challenge event. Get 0% financing or 0 cash down and 0 payments for 90 days. Buy down to 0% for 36 months on max financed amount of $12,000. Select vehicles and credit score of 750 plus, 2778 per thousand finance. Cannot combine with other offers. Expires 4/4/22. All offers plus tax title license and $429 service fee.
I'm Paul Foy, president of Cornerstone Community Bank. Everything we do at Cornerstone is built around you. We understand small business because we are a small business. We're here today with our most recent graduate, Tom Nickel, from Automated Manufacturing, a family-owned machine shop. Like many new companies, AMI benefited from the SBA loan program.
That's right, Paul. The SBA loan helped us get started, but later strained our cash flow and restricted our growth. Cornerstone refinanced our loan with a fixed rate option so we could pay down our debts quicker and expand. Cornerstone's flexibility and local decision makers enabled our lender, Chris Service, to meet our needs quickly.
Tom worked hard building a successful business and was rewarded by graduating from the SBA. Cornerstone can help companies like AMI shed SBA fees, lock in fixed rate terms, and be the catalyst for your next phase of growth.
Take your business to the next level.
Visit cornerstonecommunity.bank with offices in Grafton, Menominee Falls, and Slinger. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
What if I want a box spring?
Through Monday, get a free box spring with your new Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress.
What if I don't want a box spring?
Then take the equal value off an adjustable base.
What if I don't want to spend a lot?
Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393.
What if I forgot my first question?
Get a free box spring now through Monday at Hassleus Mattress. Find an employee-free showroom at hassleus.com.
Hey, Nick the Construction Guru here. This week my guest is going to be Dean Pepito from Aquatica. Dean, what are we going to be talking about?
One of the most overlooked, affordable projects you should consider in your landscape is a unique water feature.
Tune in 9 a.m. Sunday morning on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Democrat politicians are great at character assassination, but they're awful at governing and telling the truth. Mandela Barnes can't be honest with you because he supports all the policies causing inflation, record gas prices, rising crime, and a flood of illegal immigrants and deadly drugs. Voting for Mandela Barnes would be like hiring an arsonist to put out a fire. Please don't. I'm Ron Johnson, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ron Johnson for Senate, Inc.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellenbecker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
Blue Mountain Express. We're gonna put a smile on your face. We make it easy. BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Blue Mountain Express, moving and storage, statewide.
Hand-built, ready to move into models are now available.
Downman Homes.
Classical conservatism, contemporary style. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome back to it. My alma mater, Marquette University, hosted its annual convocation ceremony for 2,000 incoming freshmen. I'd love to say that I remember my convocation ceremony very well in the summer of, oh my goodness, 1999. Forget you heard that I started college in the 90s. I'd love to say I remember it, but I don't. I'm sure I remember the freshman orientation activities generally. I remember meeting my friends who are still my good friends to this day, the guys I roomed with, and people on my floor of the old McCormick Hall. I loved every second of it. I don't really remember the convocation ceremony, but suffice it to say, it's a big event. I mean, they have 2,000 kids on the Central Mall in the student union area. They had to shut it down. Members of the Black Student Union, the Black Student Council, got up on the stage and started chanting, "Shut it down, shut it down." They wouldn't leave. Of course, Marquette was far too timid to, remove these people from the stage so that they could get on with the convocation, saying, okay, you guys had your protest. Time to come down now. They didn't. Instead, they canceled the convocation ceremony and will do it at some other time, which probably means there will be another protest. Now, you might be wondering, why exactly was this group protesting? They were furious that Marquette University eliminated its Office of Engagement and Inclusion. And frankly, I think they've got a good argument there. I mean, inclusion and engagement with students of various backgrounds, diversity, this is all very important stuff. And if Marquette is just shutting down its Office of Engagement and Inclusion, this is something that needs to be publicized. It needs to be highlighted. Here's the problem. Marquette did not shut down its Office of Engagement and Inclusion. It's still open. Now, they've had some staff turnover, so Marquette says in a statement that they've got to, have more people apply. They'll staff this office. Another thing that they were very, very upset about. The member of MUSG, the president of MUSG, not just a member, the president of MUSG, Marquette University Student Government, said he was furious, and part of the reason for the protest was because he was the only speaker at this convocation ceremony of color. He wasn't. In fact, both Provost Ah Yoon and Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Xavier Cole, both identify as people of color and both had speaking roles at the convocation. So this protest was based entirely on lies. They also said that there is a group that only has one faculty advisor for like 100 students. It was the Division of Student Affairs. I can't seem to find it in this article that I've got. Anyway, Marquette says, okay, yes, we've had staff turnover. We're going to hire someone else. In Marquette's statement, we are deeply committed to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. Urban Scholars, that was it. The Urban Scholars program, excuse me. They only had for 100 students, and Urban Scholars were non-traditional students from the Marquette area who are accepted to Marquette. As a result of our ongoing efforts, the university said 30% of our incoming first-year class identifies as students of color, which is an all-time high in student diversity. We are proud of this progress and remain committed to initiatives that will continue to further DEI goals shared by the university and MUSG. Marquette has grown its Urban Scholars program for first-generation and financially disadvantaged students from the Milwaukee area and has already committed to hiring another full-time staff person for the program in 2023. Marquette has not closed the Office of Engagement and Inclusion. Supporting the Office of Engagement and Inclusion and the Division of Student Affairs remains a priority as the university actively recruits to refill positions left open due to resignations. Many of these positions are posted online with interviews underway. Those roles are expected to be filled this semester. Like his predecessors, the MUSG president was invited to speak at today's new student convocation because of his role as leader of the undergraduate student government. His claim that he was the only person of color slated to speak is not correct. Both Provost Ayun and Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Xavier Cole, who both identify as people of color, had speaking roles at today's convocation. Now, today's TMJ4 was all over this story, and they wanted to talk with the leaders of this protest, the Black Student Council. Could not get a comment from them because everything they were protesting against didn't actually happen. There's a broader point to be made here, though. Marquette, for years, under President Michael Lovell, has done its level best to be as woke as humanly possible. Can you ever be woke enough for far-left radicals like this? No, the answer is a resounding absolutely not. You cannot. You can never be woke enough. You can never successfully or effectively insulate yourself from the social justice monster that you create and you nurture. And this is exactly what Marquette has done. This is the culmination of years and years of kowtowing to left-wing radicalism. It's not just Marquette. We had the story in How Bizarre a couple of minutes ago. Cornell University allows a statement to be on its website for about 2 years without anybody noticing, saying, oh yeah, Cornell is totally racist, sexist, transphobic, homophobic, ableist, and every other bad thing we don't like, colonialist, slaveholding, all of this. It's because when you let the barbarians in the gates through the Trojan horse of diversity and inclusion, their aim, these are radicals, they're anarchists. They want to take down structures. That's what they explicitly say. They want to take them over and remake them in their own image. And then the people who control these institutions are forever, oh, well, we didn't think we were the homophobic, transphobic racists that you were railing against. We thought we were on your side. No, you're not, because you're not nearly as radical as them. No matter how much you posture, you're still in power. They want your power. They want control of the institution, and they have no problem whatsoever lying about what it is that's going on within your institution in order to achieve their aims. And I say this not, remember, I am a graduate of Marquette University. I loved my time at Marquette University, but as I said, I was there 20 years ago when Marquette fully embraced being a Jesuit Catholic institution with values that reflected that. Sure, there was wokeism among professors. I've told the story often about my philosophy professor the day after 9/11 wanting to do a lecture about what America could have done to cause this terror attack. Of course, they were always lefties. These aren't your standard issue lefties, though. These are woke anarchist radicals. And Marquette has been in bed with them for far too long. Maybe this is finally, at long last, the wake-up call that Marquette needs. Yeah, I doubt it, too. We'll be right back. Dan O'Donnell here for my great friends at Mander Collision and Glass, which I've been recommending most highly for years because of their expertise, their professionalism, and above all, their customer service, which really sets them apart from pretty much every other body shop. But don't just take my word for it. Sarah says Mander was thorough, friendly, knowledgeable, and quick. Although you never want to have to use an auto body repair shop, I would absolutely recommend Mander. And whether it's body work, windshield repair, or car detailing, you'll get the same service Sarah got, guaranteed. You see, Mander is locally and family owned, so you're a person to them, not a number like you are to a national chain. And Mander now has 4 locations to serve you in Brookfield, Waukesha, Cedarburg, and Heartland. Start your repair today by visiting mandercollision.com and see why Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
It's Milwaukee versus Chicago, Wisconsin versus Illinois. Bragging rights on the line when the Brewers host the Cubs in a weekend tilt starting Friday, August 26th. Fly out of here! Cheer on the Crew that Friday and get a free Brewers bucket hat available to fans 21 and up with tickets for Miller Lite Beer Pen, courtesy of Miller Lite. Make the most of summer while it lasts. Get your seats at brewers.com/tickets.
Wouldn't it be nice to not have your neighbors ask, why you tripping all the time? Plug your stump into grindandgostumps.com estimator and have Grind and Go Stumps remove that trip hazard. Finally, forget that tree. grindngostumps.com.
The past few years have been hard on communities and the people who live in them. At American Transmission Company, we believe it's important that we all come together to support those in our community who need help. It's an effort we call Positive Energy. We're also counting on generous people like you to provide a little positive energy of your own. That's why, along with this radio station, ATC has created a list of charitable organizations that need people power to carry out their missions. Visit atcllc.com/positive energy to see where and how you can participate in volunteer opportunities to make a difference in your community. Let's all be the power that brightens our communities with some positive energy.
When it comes to windows and doors, your clear choice for more is Lisbon Storm Screen and Door. Just north of North Avenue at 50th and Lisbon, or at lisbonstorm.com.
Your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Hey folks, Bob Tarantino from Redefined Realty, home of Wisconsin's favorite 3.99% commission plan. Recently, I spoke to a home seller that said 6% was a non-starter for them, yet they wanted a full-service brokerage. Luckily, I had just the solution. At Redefined Realty, our agents work hard, work smart, are great negotiators, and charge just 3.99%. That's a 33% discount off a 6% commission. My advice, forget the 6%ers and find a great 3.99% agent at redefinedrealty.com.
Hi, Larry Elder here. I never really thought much about how aches and pains can reduce a person's quality of life until pain started keeping me from living my best life. Just a few years ago, using the stairs was difficult because of the back pain. Then I found Relief Factor, a 100% drug-free solution for aches and pains. Within a week, I was on my way back to being pain-free. Now I have my life back. I take Relief Factor every single day. Relief Factor can help your body fight the inflammation that causes joint and muscle pain and the other aches and pains that come with everyday life. Treat yourself to feeling better. Move more, live more, and just enjoy your life more with Relief Factor. Join me and more than 500,000 others. Get started today with your 3-week quick start for only $19.95. About 70% go on to order more because it worked for them. Go to ReliefFactor.com to order now. That's ReliefFactor.com. Feel the difference with Relief Factor. ReliefFactor.com.
Hi, this is Matt LePay, voice of Badgers football and basketball. My mother was a vibrant, hard-working woman with a razor-sharp wit. One day, our family noticed some changes. Her skills were slipping. Ultimately, our worst fears were confirmed. A diagnosis no one wants to hear, Alzheimer's disease. Please don't ignore the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. Find information at alz.org/WI.
Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association Wisconsin chapter with funding by Oak Park Place Foundation.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Deadline just a couple of minutes from now for the Trump affidavit to be released. You know, everybody's getting their hopes up for, some big reveal. You do realize that the Justice Department was allowed to make massive redactions to this. And you do realize also that the Justice Department always redacts way more information than it needs to. And this is almost certainly going to disappoint. All right, Packers had their final preseason game last night. Any thoughts, Dave? You didn't watch a second of it. I'll be honest with you. I had the TV on in the background while I was writing my latest column for the McIver Institute on Governor Evers' election year conversion on tax cuts. Isn't it remarkable how in 2 straight state budgets, Governor Evers proposes increases in taxes by more than $1 billion each. But then as soon as the calendar flips to 2022, what's he doing? February, he's proposing $150 per taxpayer in tax credits. Essentially, it's the same sort of stimulus payment that a little bit less than a year earlier led to the massive inflation that we're still dealing with. And now, just a couple of days ago, he says he wants tax cuts for all. Well, almost all. Individual filers making up to $100,000. Families, I believe, making up to $125,000. There's an income cap limit, which intrinsically sort of suggests that he's not serious about this. We'll get into this in greater depth coming up on the Friday afternoon show. Just ran out of time for that story. I want to talk just very quickly about the Packers. I am not nearly as, I don't do a ton of sports on this show, so I'm not nearly as focused on Packers roster cut downs or anything like that. I think Jordan Love is proving himself to be a very capable backup. That said, I hope beyond hope that he is never, ever going to be pressed into action. And the other thing that I think was the biggest revelation during training camp in the preseason, Romeo Doubs looks like an absolute star at wide receiver. This could be this year's Devondre Campbell. Now, I'm not going to say that Devondre Campbell, who came out of nowhere, he was like first team All-Pro as a linebacker last year. I'm not saying Doubs is that good. But the biggest concern for the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers said it earlier this week or late last week. He said, look, he is very frustrated with the inexperience of the receivers. They need to get better. Well, not super surprising when you lose arguably the best receiver in the NFL and everyone you've got to replace him. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is also gone. The number one receiver is Allen Lazard. Christian Watson has been banged up. And you've got Doubs. You've got Randall Cobb, who is about 104 years old. Sammy Watkins, who he had the most nondescript training camp of all time. I have not heard from him at all. Yeah, I know he's a veteran, so he's not going to get into preseason games or anything like that. And I'm still very optimistic. I think the Packers defense is going to be just as good as it was last year. The offense is going to be far more run heavy, so I'm still optimistic. Can't say the same about the Brewers, unfortunately. They lose again. Yes, the Dodgers are having an historic season. They're easily the best team in baseball. But the Brewers are now, I believe, 6 games out of first place in the NL Central. St. Louis is just running away with this division. And they're a game and a half behind San Diego in the wild card race. And the only reason that they're that close is because San Diego has been almost as bad as the Brewers over the last month. Even after they traded for Josh Hader and they traded for Juan Soto, they lost their young superstar Fernando Tatis Jr. to an 80-game performance-enhancing drug suspension, so they're sort of dealing with that. And Hader, he's been demoted from closer out there. Everybody was saying, well, David Stearns blew up the team and didn't need to. I think we've got to give credit where credit's due. I think he might have been seeing the wheels start to fall off of the Josh Hader train a little bit. Look, I still think Hader is a great reliever, one of the best in baseball, but there's clearly been something going on for the better part of a month and a half. And what tends to happen with closers is that outside of the very, very best in baseball's history, they're great until they're suddenly not. All right, I am back. Friday afternoon show on WISN, 3 o'clock. Talk to you then.